Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing essential knife skills that everyone should know. There's two main reasons why everyone should have some basic knife skills, and the first one is obviously being safety. If you know how to hold a knife properly and how to hold things that you're chopping properly, then you're a lot less likely to injure yourself. And the second reason is it helps you become a better cook. You know, it allows you to cook faster, make the garnish look better, and just be more precise with whatever you're chopping. Now, before we dive into the knife skills themselves, we also have to discuss knives. For chopping, I mainly use a chef's knife. This is a knife that's usually 8 to 10 inches long, and there's a lot of variations out there on the market. But the two main ones that I'll be discussing are the carbon steel ones and the stainless steel chef's knife. Now, the main difference between these two knives are that these carbon steel knives tend to hold their edge for longer, but they do require more maintenance as they're more prone to rusting. So if you're someone who doesn't pay that much attention to their knives, I would suggest a stainless steel one, because even though you need to sharpen it more often, they won't rust. So that's a big plus. Now, there are also different types of handles out there, but the two main ones are the Western handle and the Japanese or wa handle. While everyone is familiar with the Western handle, the wa handle is usually cylindrical and octagonal shape, and honestly I prefer it, but again, it depends from person to person. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that the knife feels good in your hand and that it's very sharp. Now let's talk about how to properly hold a knife. What you want to do is start with your thumb, and then with your index finger, hold it on the other side so you kind of pinch the knife. And then what you're going to do is you're going to wrap your fingers around the handle so it becomes kind of like an extension of your hand. Now, I've seen people hold their knives like this or completely hold it by the handle, but you really don't want to be doing this. Not everyone is going to hold the knife exactly the same, as our physiology is not the same and everyone's hand is a bit different. So this is more a guideline than an exact rule. Now let's look at also how to hold things that you're chopping properly. So to properly hold any vegetable, whatever you're chopping, you should use the claw technique. So for it, you should put your elbow out and make a claw with your hand. Hold the vegetable like this, and you're going to guide the knife with the index finger wherever you're going to chop. The first technique that we're going to cover is the easiest and the safest. It's the rocking or the rolling cut. Now, the way this works is you basically keep your knife on the board constantly and just do this rolling motion with it. The knife should never leave the cutting board. Now remember to keep your elbow out and to keep the claw technique going, as you don't want to cut yourself. The next technique that we're going to cover is the high cut. For this technique, you're literally just going straight from up, down. This technique is mainly used for speed and to get pretty thin cuts. Now remember, you should always go just as fast as you're comfortable with. With practice, you'll be able to cut things a lot faster. The next cut that we're going to look at is the slice. It's almost kind of like a sawing motion. We can do this with an onion, with a tomato. It's mainly used when you want something being sliced thinly. As we said, it's a sawing motion. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the drag technique. This is mainly used for meat and things like avocado and mango. It's quite easy to cut yourself, but you can get some very thin slices out of it. So I have an avocado here that I'm going to halve and take out the pit, and then we're going to peel it, and I'll show you how the drag technique works. For this technique, again, remember to hold the knife properly claw technique. Then we're going to place the end of the knife in front of what we're cutting, and we're just going to drag it across. Now, another really important thing that I want to mention is to always keep your knife sharp. This way you have more control when you're cutting things, and you're less likely to cut yourself, even though it kind of sounds a bit counterintuitive when you know, a sharper knife can definitely cause a bit more damage. When it comes to the question of how often you should sharpen your knife, there's no correct answer. I've seen professional chefs who sharpen knives every 10 minutes, but that's because they do a lot more chopping and cutting than we do. If you're a beginner who prepares one meal a day, sharpening your knife once a day or maybe even once a week should still be good enough. Now let's have a look at 3 of the most popular cuts that you'll probably see in the kitchen. When it comes to dicing, this is a precision cut. And one of the downsides is that you're going to have a lot of usable trim. But depending on what you're dicing, be it potatoes or squash, you'll be able to use the trimmings in other things such as soup. Now what I like to do is I start with a slab so that you have a stable piece to work with. What I do then is I try to line up the spine of the knife looking from above so that it has a 90-degree angle so that we have nice square cubes. The second type of cut that we kind of already covered a bit before is slicing. Now this is when we want to get thin slices, be it onion or tomato, and we cut this in a kind of a sawing motion. So when it comes to a tomato, you want to use the claw technique. It's easier as it's big and it's easier to grab. And then we use sawing motion to cut across and get these nice thin slices. Now the last cut that we're going to cover is called julienning. This is another precision cut, mostly used for garnish. Now to showcase julienning, I'm going to use a bell pepper. We're going to take both ends of the bell pepper off, and then we're going to cut the center out. Now we'll cut the bell pepper into manageable pieces. And the next step, we're going to lightly press on the knife or the pepper and just saw away the pit. And now, again using the claw technique, we're going to go down and through so that we get these fine matchsticks. Alright guys, there you have it. Those are the essential knife skills that I think even beginners can and should start using. Now if you liked the video or if you learned something new, do like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what kind of content you'd like to see in the next video. You can click here to check out my latest upload, and I'll see you in the next one.